Good noon to everyone. Today discuss about in the mass transfer operation 1 and the fundamental of mass transfer unit 1. A substantial number of the unit operations of chemical engineering are concerned with the problem of some change in consumptions. હવે આ માસ ટ્રાન્સફર પહેલાં તો કોને કહેવાય? સિમ્પલ ડેફિનેશન જોઈએ. This is a simply a mass transfer. The definition is this paragraph. Okay. Mass transfer of the result in a bulk movement as a result of different pressure pumping and a liquid through a pipe with which we are primarily concerned. In the problems at hand, the mass transfer is a result of a concentration difference and a gradient. The diffusing substance is moving from a place of high to one of low concentration. Okay, is called as the mass transfer operation. Simple discussion જોઈએ તો આપણે ફંડામેન્ટલ in the mass transfer operations chemical engineering are concerned with the problem of changing the composition of solution અને મિક્સચર્સના થ્રુના બેઝિસ પર જોઈશું કે મેથડ નોટ નેસેસરી ઇન્વોલ્વિંગ કેમિકલ રિએક્શન અને યુઝ્યુઅલી આ કન્ડિશન્સના ઓપરેશન્સમાં જોઈએ ડાયરેક્ટેડ ટુવર્ડ્સ સેપરેટિંગ અ સબસ્ટન્સ ઇન્ટુ ધ ઇટ્સ કોમ્પોનન્ટ પાર્ટ. For mixture, such a separation may be entirely mechanical. For example, filtration of a solid from a suspension in a liquid, the classification of a solid into the fractions of different practical size by screening, or the separation of particles of a ground solid according to their density. Okay. On the other hand, if any operations involving change in the composition of solution, they are known as the mass transfer operation, and it is there which is concerned us there for some importance due in a basis per apade found there is a scarcely any chemical processes which does not require a preliminary work, some purification part of the raw material of a final separation of products from byproducts, and for this the mass transfer operation are usually used. One of the perhaps most readily developed and immediate appreciation of the part. This separation play in a processing the plant by observing and the large number of the towers with Bristol from a modern petroleum refinery, in each of which a mass transfer separation and some operations take place frequently. The major part of the cost of some processes is that for the separation, some separation purification cost depend directly upon this ratio અને ફાઇનલ ટુ ઇનિશિયલ કન્ડિશનના બેઝિસ પર જોવામાં આવશે કે આ જે રેશિયો છે એક વેરી લાર્જ રેશિયો. ધ પ્રોડક્ટ કોસ્ટ આર લાર્જ. Thus sulfuric acid is relatively low priced. The product in a part because sulfur is found naturally in a relatively pure state is where the pure uranium is expensive because of the low concentration. Any density ઓછી છે and which is the found in the nature. And the mass transfer substance any operations characterized by some operations substances through another on a molecular scale. For example, when water evaporated form, okay, a pull into the air streams flowing over the water surfaces, some molecules of water vapor diffuses through those of the air at the surface into the main portion of the air stream where they are carried away. It is not bulk movement as a result of a pressure differences as in pumping a liquid throughout the pipe with we are primary concerned. In some problems in hand, the mass transfer is a result of a concentration differences. A gradient. The diffusing substance is moving from a place of high to one of low concentration. Okay. Now most important point, classification of the mass transfer operations. Okay. ક્લાસિફિકેશન ઓફ માસ ટ્રાન્સફર ઓપરેશન્સમાં જોઈશું આપણે ડાયરેક્ટ કોન્ટેક્ટ ટુ ઇમિસિબલ ફેઝ. ઇટ ઇઝ યુઝફુલ ટુ ક્લાસિફાય ધ એની ઓપરેશન્સના બેઝિસ પર જોઈશું. સાઇડ એક્ઝામ્પલ જોઈશું. ટુ ઇચ ઇન ઓર્ડર ટુ ધ ઇન્ડિકેટ ધ સ્કોપ ઓફ ધ બુક, to provide a vehicle for some definition of terms which are commonly used this basis. Okay, now simple direct contact to immiscible phases ના બેઝ પર જોઈશું. નેક્સ્ટ ટુ ટોપિક આપણે નેક્સ્ટ લેક્ચરમાં જોઈશું ડિટેલમાં. ડાયરેક્ટ કોન્ટેક્ટ ટુ ઇમિસિબલ ફેઝ. Now this category is by far the most important of all and include the bulk of mass transfer operation. Here we take some advantages of the fact that in a two-phase system of several components at equilibrium with few exception, the compositions of the phase are different. Okay, अलग अलग variations में हसे component, in other words, are differently distributed between the phases and some bases. In some instance, the separation thus afforded lead to immediately to a pure substance ના basis પર જોઈશું આપણે, because one of the phase at a equilibrium content ના basis પર હશે, and only one constitute, for example, the equilibrium vapor in contact with a liquid aqueous solution, and no salt regardless of the concentration of the liquid. Similarly, the equilibrium solid in a contact with such as a liquid salt solution, either pure water, depending upon which side of the intrinsic compositions part. Okay, and the liquid happens to be starting with the liquid solution. One can then obtain a complete separation by boiling of the water, alternatively pure salt or pure water can be produced by partly freezing the solution, or in a principle at least both can be obtained pure by complete solidifications followed by mechanical separation. And the aquatic mixture of the in case like this, when two phases are first formed, they are immediately at their final equilibrium compositions, and the establishment of equilibrium is not a time dependent process. Such separation, with one exception, are not normally considered to be among the mass transfer operation ના basis પર છે. In the mass transfer operation, neither equilibrium phases consist of the only one component. Consequently, when the two phases are initially contact, they will not be of the equilibrium compositions. Okay, the system then the attempt equilibrium by relatively slow diffusive some moment of the constitute transfer in the part of this phase. In the process, separation are therefore never complete, although as well as be shown they can be brought as near compressions as desired, but not totally, by appropriate manipulate. Okay, now in the sixth part of this process is for a gas liquid, gas solid, liquid અને લાસ્ટ વન ઇઝ અ લિક્વિડ સોલિડ અને સોલિડના બેઝ પર જઈશું આપણે. ઓકે, ડિટેલ્સમાં ડિસ્કસ કરવાના છે. ફર્સ્ટ પાર્ટ છે આપણો ગેસમાં જોઈએ આપણે. The three stages of digestion, gas, liquid and solid, permit 6 possibilities of the phase contact. So since with very few exceptions, all gases are completely soluble in each other, this category is not practically realized. Okay, practically કોઈ realize નથી. અને if all component of this system and distribute between the phases at equilibrium, the some operation is known as the fractional distillation, or frequently just distillation part. In this instance, The gas phase is created from the liquid by application of heat, or conversely, the liquid is created from the gas by removal of heat. For some example, if a liquid solution of acetic acid and water is partially residual liquid, both contain acetic acid and water, but in proportion at equilibrium which are different for the two phases and different from those in the original solution. If the vapor and liquid are separated mechanically from each other and the some vapor condense. Two solutions na basis પર જોઈશું, richer acetic acid and the other richer acetic acid. In this way, for some certain degree of the separation of the original component has been accomplished, both phases may be solution, each containing however the only one common component, which distribute between the phases. For example, if a mixture of ammonia and air is contact with liquid water, a large portion of the ammonia but essentially no air will dissolve in the liquid, and in this way the air ammonia mixture can be separated. The operation is known as gas absorption. On the other hand, if air is brought into contact with an ammonia water solution, some of the ammonia leaves in the liquid event enters the gas phases. ઓકે, હવે માસ ટ્રાન્સફર ઓપરેશનના જે અલગ અલગ પાર્ટ છે તેમાં હ્યુમિડિફિકેશન અને ડિહ્યુમિડિફિકેશન બી આવશે. ઓકે, એના બેઝિસ પર આપણે જોઈશું કે અમુક ફેઝ એના ઘણા બેઝિસ પર આપેલા છે. ધ કન્ટેનિંગ બટ વન કોમ્પોનન્ટ વાઇલ ધ ગેસ કન્ટેનિંગ ટુ ઓર મોર, ધ ઓપરેશન ઇઝ હ્યુમિડિફિકેશન અને ડિહ્યુમિડિફિકેશન્સના બેઝિસ પર છે. ઓકે, ડિપેન્ડિંગ અપોન ધ ડાયરેક્શન્સ ઓફ ટ્રાન્સફર, ધીસ ઇઝ ધ એક્સેપ્શન મેન્શન earlier. For example, contact of dry air with a liquid water result in evaporation of some water into their air, humidification of the air. Conversely, the contact of very most air with pure liquid water may result in the condensation of part of the moisture in the air, dehumidification. In both cases, diffusion of water vapor through air involved in the V included. This among the mass transfer operation. Now the gas solid. હવે gas solid માં એવું છે કે classification of the operations, some category એવી હોય કે some component ના બેઝ પર જોવામાં આવે છે, which appear in the two phases in is again convenient. If a solid solution is partially vaporized without the appearance of a liquid phase, the newly formed vapor phase are and the residual solid each contain all the original component but in the different proportions, and the operation is fractional sublimations. And as in distillation, the final compositions are established by interdiffusions of the some component between the phase. While such as operation is theoretically possible, it is partial. It is not generally done because of the inconvenience of dealing with solid phase in the manners अलग अलग बेसिस पर हसे. ओके, હવે liquid જોઈએ. Some separation ના બેસિસ પર હોય involving the contact of two insoluble liquid phase, આ known as a liquid extraction operation કહેવાય એને. સર એમ એક્ઝામ્પલ જોઈએ કે લેબોરેટરીના બેઝિસ પર જોઈએ તો એસિટિક એસિડ, વોટર અને બેન્ઝીન, ને આપણે એડિંગ અ સોલ્વન્ટ તરીકે વોટર યુઝ કરીશું તો આપણને ટુ લેયરમાં જોવા મળશે આ પોઈન્ટ. ઓકે, સિમ્પલી લિક્વિડ એક્સટ્રેક્શનના બેઝિસ પર છે. A small amount of water will be also have used in a dissolve by the carbon tetrachloride, and a small amount of the water, little will be have entered the water layer. But this effect are relatively minor, as another possibility, a solution of acetic acid and acetone can be separated by adding it to the insoluble mixtures of water and carbon tetrachloride after shaking and settling both acetone and acetic acid will be found in both liquid phases, but in different proportions, such as operation is known as the fractional extraction. Another from the fractional extraction can be effected by producing two liquid phases from a single phase solution by cooling the latter below. In the critical solution temperature, the two phases which form will be different compositions. ઓકે, લિક્વિડ સોલિડમાં જોઈએ પેરાફેનિક બેઝ અને હાઇડ્રોકોનિક બેઝ હશે સિમ્પલી કેસ. અને સોલિડ સોલિડમાં જોઈએ તો because of the extraordinarily slow rates of diffusions within the solid phase, there is no industrial separation. Operation is this some categories. Okay, next lecture જોઈશું આપણે phase separation by membrane જોઈશું ક્લાસિફિકેશનમાં ફર્સ્ટ પોઈન્ટ ઓનલી. થેન્ક યુ.